for a lot of people will say, well, you can't sell your soul. You can't sell something that doesn't belong to you. I'm here to tell you that's not really true, because when you decide to get that mark, that is you selling your soul. That's you choosing a side. That's you. There's no redemption after that. What's going on, everybody? Mezariah here, and I'm back with another video. Today's video, I want to get into something serious, and we are talking about the digital ID. And a lot of people know about things like this that are leading us into a new system of things, a system that is going to be a burden on a lot of us in coming times, because this is something prophetic. And we this is a warning for a lot of people. We want to spiritually prepare people for things like this, because you have to be spiritually prepared for the things to come, for destruction. And before we get into this video, please like, subscribe, comment, and share this video with anybody that you may feel like may resonate with this video. And this is, of course, a video that is really not like my other videos, because every now and again I want to get out of the realm of what I usually talk about, and I want to enlighten you and help you understand that there are other factors that play into the warfare that you go through, and why you have to be on point about this world that we live in, this government, because we may have enemies in our personal everyday life, but then we have a system that is above us physically, and they care nothing about us. And they are here to do a lot of damage, whether you believe that or not. And we should all be at a place and an understanding that there is so many things that have been hidden from us. There have been things that the world has lied to us about. And we should be, if we are inclined to, to certain things, we should be understanding at this point. It's 2025, y'all. There should be no excuses for anybody that's still trying to be skeptical about the world that we live in. If you've been paying attention, especially since 2020, when the whole world saw what has taken place, and y'all know what I'm talking about when we're talking about that C word that a lot of people got deceived by, and that poke in your arm thing. And a lot of people were truly waking up at that around that time, when they saw things for what they were. And then you have people like us, that were already privy to certain things, and we were warning people before we even knew God for real, before we had a real relationship with God. We were warning people about stuff like this all day, and they mocked, they laughed, and they scoffed, and all of that. But digital ID has come about, and we just saw an announcement either yesterday or 2 days ago about in the UK, at the end of their parliament, or at the beginning of the next parliament, they will have the digital ID mandatory for all citizens in the UK. And I find that to be very troubling. You know what I mean? That's very troubling. And we are headed to that system. European powers have had so much power over the world, and about 80% of the world, if we being real. And when the UK or European powers move, the whole world moves. So the whole world follows suit after the European powers. So because something is being implemented there, it's only about a matter of time that it'll come here in this country. And they will have so many different ways of enforcing this stuff. They will make excuses, and they will deceive you into thinking that this is the right way. This is the thing. These are things that we should have implemented in our society for our society to flow better, to move better. And it's all an illusion. It's all deception. Because if you think about the excuses they'll make, they'll say, well, it'll keep having a digital ID will keep your information safe, and it'll keep it safe from people gaining access to you. And they'll give you all of these different excuses as to why you should have, why we should have a system like this instead of really believing in God for our protection. Because think about it, right? The devil, right? He wants us to physically secure ourselves because the devil is carnal. The devil wants us to physically secure and protect ourselves from every little thing. Because if we have physical protection, we are deluded to think that we have spiritual protection. That's the way the enemy works because he's carnal. He's all about this flesh. He doesn't understand spiritual things. Yeah, he knows how real prayer is, and he doesn't. But he doesn't want you to pray. He wants you to lock every bolt that you have on your door. He wants you to uh, make sure everything is safe and everything is this and everything is that, which we should have safety precautions. I'm a guard. I'm a security guard that does work at, at a school. So I know about security precautions. But my point is, where do we draw the line? You know what I mean? Where do we draw the line where we don't use excuses to say the government needs access to this, the government needs access to that, and they need this, and they need to know this, and they need to count every penny that we make. We need to report to them about everything. And that's what I'm saying, because a carnal person is probably going to say, well, it's going to keep us safe from hackers and keep us safe from these robbers and looters, not realizing that these robbers and looters are even made out to be the monsters because of the government we live in. Why do you think people steal? Why do you think people trying to find ways around the system? Because the government makes it hard for people to live. They take 40% of your check. They take this, they take that. They want you to report this. They want you to know this. They want to have access to every little thing that you are doing so they can be your God. Is that not playing God? You see what I'm saying? God sees everything. He knows everything about us. He knows every little thing. The devil wants to play God. He wants to mimic God. So he's going to want to know everything about us, just like God. But for him, he has to create all of these systems. He has to create all of these things. He has to force you to do everything. The devil don't have real power like God. He doesn't have the power to naturally know everything about you. He has to force everything so he can, and it takes centuries for him to build a system to know everything about you, even though he'll have his little minions that are in generation, these generational demons that we talk about when they watch the family and, notice the patterns of families and everything like that. But when we're talking about the overall head of the devil and his system, he doesn't have access to every little thing about us. So he tries to implement these systems to figure out every molecule of our being. That's what this system is all about, whether you believe it or not. And when we talk about the digital ID, we're giving over information. Now think about this. When we are talking about Vietnam, the Vietnamese people got all of their banks basically taken away by the government. 86 million people in Vietnam because they did not want to comply with the digital ID. So what does that tell you, right? Anytime a human or a group of people are able to have that much power to force you to do something that you don't want to do, that is of the devil. That is of the devil. Clear as day. And that's your number one sign that you shouldn't do it. Because when you are using food and housing and all these different things that we use on a daily basis as leverage to tell people, if you don't do this, then you're not going to get this. If you don't do this, you're not going to do that. In what world can a government do that? Then the countries that we live in have become a dictatorship. The whole world will be a dictatorship, and pretty soon. So it's clear to me that we all should be spiritually inclined to these things by now. We should understand the world that we live in. We should be understanding how to evade these things that are to come. This is not a video to explain how we should evade, but I will say a relationship with Christ will be the best thing that you can ever have in a time like this. Because when the whole world has become psychopathic and they have basically said, we are controlling the world, we want to run the world, this is our world, and you can't do anything about it. What do you cling on to? That God is the only thing you can cling on to when you are being starved because you don't want a digital ID. And when we talk about revelations, right? We go to Revelations 13 and let's read Revelations 13. In Revelations 13, verses 16, and it says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So when we are talking about that, now the digital ID is not a physical mark, it's a digital mark, it's a digital footprint, a digital ID. But what are we speculating here? We're speculating that if the UK literally came out and said out their own mouths that if you don't have this, you won't be able to work, you won't be able to do this, you won't be able to do that. And what do we just read in Revelation? Now, if this is the digital ID and it's not the same as the mark, it is sure as well is leading to the mark, and it's even closer to the mark than the C word poke was back in 2020. And these are things that we should be not worried about, but we should be taking heed to, because this is your soul, this is your salvation, right? So when you read Revelations and you go further into the book after reading this verse that I just read, you would know that this would cost you your soul. You will be thrown into the lake of fire forever, and there's no redeeming yourself after that. There are two things that God will not forgive: blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, which I will not say that you will be thrown into the lake of fire for that, but He won't forgive it. But He will not forgive you getting the mark of the beast, because you are pledging allegiance. You have picked a side, and you will forever be tormented because of that. Now, a lot of people will say, well, you can't sell your soul. You can't sell something that doesn't belong to you. I'm here to tell you that's not really true, because when you decide to get that mark, that is you selling your soul. That's you choosing a side. That's you. There's no redemption after that. So you have sold your soul, and you will not be forgiven for that. And when people say that, I'm so puzzled, because it's like, that's the ultimate selling of your soul, when you decide to pledge allegiance to the wicked oppressor that will be behind this mark, and you pledging your allegiance to that, you are selling your soul. So the free will that we have is in choosing good instead of evil. A lot of people look at free will as doing whatever we want. God, for example, I can, as a human, I can create a whole race of robots and I can program them to love me. God created us, but He didn't make us to just, program us to just love Him. He wants us to choose Him and to be genuine with our love. That's the difference. And that free will is in us choosing Him. That's where free will takes place. So when we choose Him, we are choosing between good and evil, between God and Satan. So we have free will to do with that what our soul. So that free will, we have the choice if we want the salvation, or we want to save our soul from damnation. And a lot of people will say, well, God is a trickster. God is doing this on purpose to, to do all of these things. I'm telling you, he is not. The way that God has been protecting me, I can only speak from experience. When you choose him and you're serious about it, he will give you the peace. He will give you the way, the instructions, the hope, the faith, and everything connected to it. And it is something that you have to experience for yourself. You have to go searching for yourself. A lot of us don't want to understand Christ and Jesus Christ, because of the commercialization of the gospel, the commercialization of God, because we have been so desensitized to the mockery, to the games, to these jokes about Christ. But we will go and dibble and dabble in every little thing to figure out who we are. We will accept all these different spiritualities and even other religions. But once it comes to Jesus Christ, it's like, oh no. But here's the thing: the one that is being rejected, the one that is being uh, thrown to the side, the one that who's the people in China have been locked up. There was I was just reading that it was a 2-year old got locked up in China for possessing the Bible. That should tell you everything. That should tell you that Christ is the way. That should tell you that, the God of the Bible is the way. When you're being persecuted that hard because you have a Bible, no other religion is being persecuted. I'm not saying it hasn't happened in other religions, but the way that you are being persecuted to follow the Messiah is very peculiar and unique to only Christ. It's not in a lot of other religions. And I'm not saying this is religious. I don't claim religion. I claim Jesus Christ, Yeshua, Yahusha. I claim that God in the flesh. And these things that are to come are going to cause people to be very desperate to cling on to something, because now for the people that probably don't know, that your soul is at stake. If you get if you get a mark in your hand, and of course we're talking about a digital ID as well, but either if the digital ID is the mark or the digital ID is leading to that mark, you you are going to be desperate when you don't know Christ. You are going to be very desperate, because when you have the knowledge of knowing what can happen uh, to a person that does get that mark, it's going to be so tormenting to you every day. The minute you get it, you won't be able to sleep. You won't be able to focus, because you know what is headed for you if you get that mark. So you shouldn't play with your salvation like that. This is why so many of us have been warning you about the things to come. This life is so serious. Like, I remember having friends when I was really in the world and I was just doing what I wanted, and I was always warning them about stuff like this. I didn't spare nobody. It was more laid to the conspiracy side, but really in the middle, because I still knew God to some degree. And, they always looked at me like I was crazy. They always looked at me like I was just talking. But now we know things are getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and they experiencing the prophecy to come true. The prophecies that we see, they're seeing it and they're living it, and some of us don't even realize that they're living it, because they're so desensitized. They just wake up and do what they want, don't care about what is headed. They don't care about their soul. I have a friend that I've known for years, and I saw them. God was basically telling me that they were being transformed into a demonic being, and ruin and judgment is coming to them, and headed to them, but they don't want to hear it. So it hurts to see people that you love not understand stuff like this. They don't understand or they don't concern themselves with information that will affect their lives, their souls. And we have to be so mindful of the things that are coming, that we are being warned about. This is probably 5 years before things will even start to really take place. And we have a chance to change and transform our lives and create a prayer life and really talk to God and strengthen our relationship with Christ. So, um, this is something that we should be mindful about. The digital ID. The digital ID is very telling of the times that we are coming into. And then for people that been researching stuff like this, they know about Agenda 2030 when they talk about the complete domination of the world and all of this. And honestly, the way the time is aligning, because we're in 2025, it seems like we're headed for 2030, unless we are going through shifting timelines or something, and we'll be reset back to 2001 or something. But it looks like we're headed right to 2030, and we should be more aware for the things to come. We should be more aware of the stuff that we take for granted. This information, it's a reason why there are so many conspiracies about stuff like this. We got to use wisdom when we talk about stuff like this. When you understand the way people work. For instance, I live in Maryland, right? And a lot of people in Maryland, I'll say more so in Baltimore, because I live in Baltimore. A lot of people in Baltimore have VA tags, right? And I made a video about this. They have VA tags. Why do they have VA tags? Yes, it's illegal, quote unquote, but why are so many people willing to have VA tags? Because the state that we live in is corrupt. They charge so much money for you to get on the road and drive and be about your business. They charge for everything. They make you have insurance. They make you inspect this. They make you pay for this. They make you have. It's insanity. And a lot of states are like that, but Maryland is just sick. They are sick. But my point is, when you see people generally having confusion, or I'll say conspiracy about certain things, and they do certain things at a large scale, you have to look at things a little bit more deeper than just the surface. Why do people do things? And why are things the way that they are? Why do people have the understanding and the ideas? If you look at why, for instance, this is a great example. When we talk about the black community, when we talk about the black community and why we are in a state that we have been in for so long, and we conspire and we come to terms with, well, who did this to us? Why do we have liquor stores on every corner of the neighborhoods? Why do we have all of these fiends on the street? They strung out, they doing the lean. Why are we in this state? Is it just because we are who we are? Yes, we are cursed because Yah cursed his people. But when we talk about the physical level, right? Who caused this? Who caused it to be? God allows things to be a certain way, but who put the crack in the neighborhoods? Who put the liquor stores in the neighborhoods? Who implanted this? Who implanted that? You see what I'm saying? And this, who put the drugs in the neighborhoods? So you have to understand the root of why things are the way that they are. Why we have these understandings of how we got to this place, or why we think or how we have these ideas of how we got into the state on a physical level, on a surface level, because there is a understanding of how we got here on the surface level. Then we have the spiritual level, which is because of what we did, our ancestors did. God cursed us because of our disobedience and our rebellion. That's a whole nother story. But there's always a physical aspect to this, and everything ties in together. So when we talk about things like digital ID and people are having rumors and conspiracy, you have to understand that most of the things that they're saying is not just a conspiracy or a rumor. It's a reason why we're asking these things, because there's always a bigger picture. There's always so many different things that connect to why this would even be. Their history repeats itself. We are a part of a nation that have false flag events, whether you believe it or not. It's a reason why we for so long that we question certain events that took place. Like, was this staged, or was the 2001 in New York September 11th, was that an inside job? It's a reason why we question these things, because we see the evidence, and we have a history the of people mysteriously dying, and it's a lot of things connected to the things that we question. So all I'm saying is, it's nothing to be it's nothing to be a conspiracy. All of it is truth. If you are just coming into certain truth, it's going to be a conspiracy to you. For us, we're just going to understand that this is just another extension of what the elites are playing, the games that they are playing, and the plans that they are planning. That's all that is. When the further you come into the truth, the more you just understand and take things for what they are. You don't conspire. You don't really think about or try to be convinced. You already are convinced because you know truth. And then here's the thing: God's spirit will confirm for you. God will talk to you. He will confirm to you what the world has been a part of, and what they are doing, and the things that they plan on doing to people in the near future. How this will be a complete dystopian world. This whole world will be dystopian, and you don't have to question about things like that, because we know, we've been seeing it for years now. A lot of us woke up, what, 13, 14 years ago. Like myself, I woke up 2011 and I understood at a young age. And some of us are just waking up now, probably a few years ago, 5 years ago, and probably this year, finally. And it's a breath of fresh air for you to know truth. And you become angered, you become bitter, you take it personal, you feel tricked, you feel bamboozled. It's a lot that comes with it, because the more you know, the more wisdom you have. The Bible says that the more wisdom you know, the angrier a man becomes, because when you are wise about the evil that has taken place, you become angry, rightfully so. You become righteously angry. It's not about being wrathful. It's just about being angry, a righteous anger. So, you guys, I want you to please pray on this, and I want you to like truly understand what I'm saying, because we are headed to a new time. We are headed to tumultuous times where our faith will be tested, and we will have to really get a grip on ourselves and our understanding, to not be double-minded on stuff like this. You have to stand 10 toes down on what you believe and what you know to be true, no matter what. If anybody or any government tries to force you to do anything, then you know it is not of God. If they try to force you to do anything, if a man tries to force you to do anything, you know that is of the enemy. God is not he doesn't govern witchcraft, because that's what it is. When a person tries to force you to do something, that's witchcraft. We don't do anything by force. God doesn't even do put us in a situation where he forces us. He allows us to choose. He allows us to choose what we need, and he lets us do it, whether we believe in him or not. So, um, that with that being said, I'm gonna be making another video. I wanted to step out of my realm of doing certain videos and just get this message across to you, because this is really important. Things are changing, times are changing, and that's it. That's all. I love you guys, and I'll be back.